IELTS Life Skills A1 Spouse Visa Test.
Hello everyone, this is Angelina. I'm an IELTS coach and a language trainer, and I welcome you back to the series of lessons for the preparation of IELTS A1 Life Skills Speaking Test. There are 40 important topics. If you prepare those topics, your success is guaranteed. But there are some additional topics that have recently appeared in the exam. You must prepare those to secure your success. Let's move to our next topic, that is neighbor or neighbors. I hope you know the difference between neighbor and neighborhood. I've already made a video about the difference between neighbor and neighborhood. I'm going to mention the link to that video in the description box. Let's get started with our topic for today. We'll talk about the questions first. It is an important topic, so pay attention. Do you have a neighbor or do you have neighbors? Who is your neighbor? How long it's been he or she is your neighbor? How old is your neighbor? Where does your neighbor come from? Do you like your neighbor? What do you like about your neighbor? Is there anything that you dislike about your neighbor? Do you like to eat out with your neighbor? Do you like to meet your neighbor? How often do you meet your neighbor? Do you like to travel with your neighbor? What do you like to do with your neighbor? Or what activities do you enjoy with your neighbor? Do you like to go to a park with your neighbor? Do you like to share your food with your neighbor? Do you like to spend time with your neighbor? Do you help your neighbor? Let's answer these questions. Do you have a neighbor or neighbors? Yes, I have a neighbor. Who is your neighbor? Farzana is my neighbor. How long it's been? Farzana is your neighbor. It's been 30 years. Farzana is my neighbor. How old is your neighbor? My neighbor is 35 years old. Where does your neighbor come from? My neighbor comes from India, or you can say my neighbor comes from Pakistan. You can also mention the name of the city and the name of the country. What does your neighbor do? Farzana is a housewife, and she has 3 children. What do you like to do when you meet your neighbor? We chat with each other, we talk about our relatives and about our family, and we take tea together. We also go shopping together. Mostly, I like to go with Farzana to buy groceries. What do you like about your neighbor? My neighbor is very kind, polite, humble, and gentle. She is very helping. Or he is very helping. Depends if you choose a man or if you choose a girl. She loves to visit my house and we talk together. She is like my best friend. Is there anything that you dislike about your neighbor? Well, sometimes a lot of noises come from her house, and at night it is very disturbing. This is the only thing that I don't like about my neighbor. Do you like to travel with your neighbor? Yes, I like to travel with my neighbor. We go to different amusement parks with our children. Do you like to go shopping with your neighbor? Yes, this is my favorite activity to do with my neighbor. We go to our favorite shopping mall together and we spend hours there. Do you like to share your food with your neighbor? Yes, I love to share my food with my neighbor. Whenever I cook something delicious or tasty, I send the food to my neighbor's house. Do you like to eat out with your neighbor? Yes, I go with my neighbor to my favorite restaurant and enjoy Chinese food. Do you help your neighbor? Yes, I always help my neighbors. Whenever they want to take help for traveling, whenever they don't have anything at home, or they want help with taking care of their children and their house for some time, I like to help my neighbors. Do you like to spend time with your neighbors? Yes, I love to spend time with my neighbors. It's very enjoyable. I feel very happy to spend some time with my neighbors. How often do you meet your neighbors or your neighbor? I meet my neighbors once in a week or sometimes twice in a week. Or maybe you can say, I meet my neighbor every day. I hope you learned something from this topic. If yes, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It would be a great help for the channel. Thank you.